Listen, I was 26 years old when my girlfriend's dad told me, in the most polite way possible, that he thought I was wasting my life. We were at some family dinner and he asked me about my plans, my goals, what I was building. And I gave him the usual speech, the one where you talk about all the things you're working on and all the big moves you're about to make. He just nodded, smiled, and said, "That's great, man. Let me know when something actually happens." It wasn't mean, it was worse than mean. It was honest. And the look on my girlfriend's face told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't defending me, she wasn't surprised, she agreed with him. That's when it hit me. The people closest to me didn't actually respect me. They liked me, they tolerated me, but respect? No. Because I was all talk and no results. I made promises I didn't keep, started projects I never finished, and had 1,000 excuses for why I wasn't where I said I'd be. And the worst part? I knew he was right. I didn't even respect myself. So let me ask you something, and I want you to be real with yourself for a second. Do people actually respect you? Not like you, not tolerate you, not pretend around you because it's easier than confronting you. I'm talking about genuine respect, the kind where people trust your word, value your presence, and know you're someone who shows up when it matters. Because here's what I learned the hard way. Respect isn't given just because you exist. It's earned. And if you're not getting it, there's a reason. And that reason probably has nothing to do with other people and everything to do with what you're refusing to change about yourself. I used to think I deserved respect just because I was a good person. I had good intentions. I was nice. I didn't hurt anyone on purpose. But nobody gives you respect for being harmless. They give you respect for being dependable, for having standards, for being someone who keeps their word even when it's inconvenient. And I wasn't that person. I was the guy who said I'd be there and showed up late, the guy who made promises I didn't keep because something came up, the guy who talked about my goals constantly but never actually did the work when nobody was watching. The first thing I had to change was my word. My word meant nothing, and I didn't even realize it until I started paying attention to how often I broke it. I'd tell myself I was going to wake up at 6 and work on my business, then hit snooze until 8 and scroll on my phone until 9. I'd tell my friends I'd meet them somewhere, then cancel last minute because I didn't feel like it. I'd commit to things publicly and then quietly let them die in private. Every single time I did that, I was teaching people and myself that my word was worthless, that I couldn't be counted on, that I was all talk and no follow-through. And the crazy part, I wondered why nobody took me seriously. So I made a decision. I started treating my word like a contract. If I said I was going to do something, I did it. Period. Even if it was just a promise to myself, even if nobody else would ever know. Because every time you break your word, you chip away at your own self-respect. And if you don't respect yourself, why the hell should anyone else? It took months before people started noticing, but they did. They started inviting me to things that mattered because they knew I'd actually show up. They started trusting me with bigger opportunities because they knew I'd handle them. Respect doesn't come from what you say. It comes from proving over and over that your actions match your words. The second thing I had to change was how I handled my emotions. I was a reactive mess. If someone said something I didn't like, I'd snap. If something didn't go my way, I'd sulk. If I felt disrespected, I'd make sure everyone knew about it. I thought being emotional made me authentic, made me real. But here's what it actually made me: exhausting. Nobody respects someone who can't control themselves. Nobody wants to walk on eggshells around you because you might blow up over nothing. I had to learn that emotional control isn't about suppressing what you feel. It's about choosing how you respond. It's about being the kind of person who can take a hit, process it, and still move forward with clarity instead of chaos. That shift alone changed how people treated me, because when you stop being ruled by your emotions, people stop treating you like a child. The third thing was my appearance. And before you roll your eyes and think this is shallow, hear me out. I used to show up to everything looking like I just rolled out of bed. Wrinkled clothes, messy hair, no effort. And I'd tell myself it didn't matter because people should judge me by my character, not my clothes. But the truth is, how you present yourself is a direct reflection of how much you value yourself. And when you look like you don't care, people assume you don't. They assume you're not serious. They assume you're not someone worth paying attention to. I'm not saying you need to dress like a CEO every day, but put some effort in. Show up looking like someone who respects themselves enough to try. It's not about impressing people. It's about signaling that you take yourself seriously. And when you do that, other people will too. The fourth thing was my standards. I had none. I let people disrespect me, waste my time, cross my boundaries, and I'd just sit there and take it because I didn't want to cause problems. I thought being easygoing made me likable, but all it did was make me forgettable. People don't respect someone who stands for nothing. They respect someone who knows what they will and won't tolerate and isn't afraid to walk away when those lines get crossed. I had to learn how to say no. I had to learn how to cut off people who were draining me. I had to learn that setting boundaries isn't mean, it's necessary. And the moment I started enforcing standards for how I allowed people to treat me, everything changed. The people who didn't respect me disappeared, and the people who did started showing up differently. The fifth thing, and this is the one that tied everything together, was my accountability. I was the king of excuses. It was never my fault. It was the economy, my upbringing, my circumstances, other people, bad timing, bad luck. I had a reason for everything. And every single one of those reasons kept me stuck. Because when you blame everything outside of yourself, you give away all your power. You become a victim of your life instead of the architect of it. I didn't know it yet, but that was the day my excuses stopped working. The day I realized that nobody was coming to save me, that nobody cared about my reasons, that the only thing that mattered was what I was going to do about it. So I stopped explaining why I wasn't where I wanted to be and started focusing on how I was going to get there. I stopped waiting for perfect conditions and started working with what I had. And that shift from victim to owner is what finally made me someone people could respect. Because respect isn't given to people who complain. It's given to people who take responsibility and do something about it. Here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to hear. If people don't respect you, it's because you're not respectable yet. Not because you're a bad person, but because you haven't become the kind of person who commands it. You're inconsistent, you're reactive, you're sloppy, you're passive. You let people walk over you and then wonder why they don't value you. But the good news is this: you can change all of it right now, today. You don't need permission, you don't need a perfect moment. You just need to decide that you're done being the person nobody takes seriously. So be honest with yourself. How long have you been wasting your own potential? How many times have you broken promises to yourself and wondered why you feel stuck? How many times have you let people disrespect you because you were too afraid to set a standard? Stop waiting, stop making excuses, stop expecting the world to hand you respect when you haven't earned it yet. Start keeping your word, start controlling your emotions, start showing up like someone who matters. Start setting boundaries, start taking full responsibility for your life. Do that, and I promise you, people will start treating you differently. Not because they changed, because you did.